Making monsters on a stormy night. What's not to love? I don't know. Hi friends. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Lena, and this is where I talk about books and life as an art teacher and a mom, but really mostly books. And today what I wanted to talk about was some spooky-esque, cozy-ish books that I recommend for this time of year. And when I say this time of year, yes, I realize that Halloween has already passed, but when I think about November is kind of like a forgotten month, I feel like, because it's not December yet, so you're not like in the thick of holiday season, but Halloween is already over, and so what do we do? And so when it is November, I love to be like cozy and warm, and I like to be in familiar places, doing familiar, comforting things as the earth kind of goes to sleep for winter. And so these are some of the books that I recommend for some cozy reading for this darker time of the year. A lot of these feel like dark and wet and cold kind of vibes to me. You may or may not agree, because it's not like the traditional cozy horror that is becoming more and more popular right now with like cozy authors and that kind of thing. But that word cozy is everywhere right now. And it's really interesting because I feel like cozy means something different to everyone. Because to me, cozy is like almost like a nostalgic, comforting, safe space to be in that's like warm and makes me feel good. On this list, I do have quite a few classics because to me, familiar stories are always a comfort. So I love to read classics for that reason. So these are like kind of like non-traditional, cozy, dark books. I don't know. But for those of you who are looking for standard cozy, the cozy horror author that everyone talks about always is Rachel Harrison. I loved Such Sharp Teeth. I'm not always like a werewolf girly, but I really enjoyed this one. There is a really lovely relationship between sisters and a mother, and you explore you know, like past traumas and things that they have experienced and how that has framed their relationship moving forward. So there's a lot of like healing family trauma that takes place in this, and I feel like that gives it a cozy feeling because it's kind of like coming home to your family. Would it be considered a second chance romance? I don't know, kind of like reconnecting with like a high school sweetheart situation, which I don't really usually enjoy that kind of trope. I don't know if I've really experienced it that much, but in this one, I really liked it. I found this super enjoyable. Cackle, in my opinion, was just okay, but I know that this is like the favorite. People always recommend this one to me, and so I read it. It was okay to me, but I don't know. Like, I always think that I'm gonna like witchy books, and then I read witchy books and they always let me down. So I don't know. It might be a thing with like me and witchiness. I'm not sure. She's just really obsessed with her ex in this one. But if that's something that you like or can relate to, maybe it will be for you. I saw Katie on Katie Marie Reads say that when she read it, she felt like maybe she just wasn't at the right life point, couldn't really relate to that character's like plight anymore. And I think that maybe that was my problem. I was like, oh my God, get over it. Like, he wasn't even that great. Just stop obsessing. But if you're in like your early 20s, like college age kind of thing, I feel like you would still really connect with the characters for sure. Another thing to look for in books that I find cozy but creepy are retellings. And so an example of that is What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. It is the Fall of the House of Usher retelling. Really any kind of like dark retelling, if it's a story that you know and are familiar with, and that already provides like a level of comfort. This one is fantastic. There's lots and lots of mushroomy fungi on the cover, and that wraps right up with the story. And I always love when a house or a place almost feels as if they are a character within the story, and that's kind of how I felt with this one. So another tea kingfisher that I loved was the hollow places, and this was so strange, but she's in a museum of sorts, and she like finds a portal to another realm, sort of, and is exploring that, but it is very creepy and scary. I was obsessed. I flew through this. I'm gonna read it again because I feel like enough time has gone by that I will still be like wrapped up and like surprised by some of the elements in here. So there are like these cryptic words that are like haunting her, and she's like kind of like losing touch with reality, or is she? I don't know. This might be my favorite tea kingfisher, either this or the twisted ones. The twisted ones I would say is not cozy. It is creepy, and I loved it. I was totally here for it. So if you enjoy Bones, give that one a read or a listen, or however you like to consume your media. And then talking more about classics, one of my go-tos, Rebecca, because it's a bit of a ghost story, and it definitely is creepy because our main character is being brought into this new world that really she's unfamiliar with. Like, she knows the man that she's married, but she doesn't know him that well and hasn't known him that long. So figuring out what is going on and like who can be trusted and that kind of thing. Oh, it just has a very like gothic aesthetic, and I just really, really enjoyed it so much. My November book that I reread every November is Wuthering Heights. Also a bit of a ghost story filled with terrible people doing terrible things. But it just feels like that cold, dark time of year when winter is coming, or maybe winter is leaving, but you're not in that beautiful, soft falling snow stage of winter. You're in like the dark, cold depths of just grossness. At least if winter is for you like it is for me here in Michigan. So but Wuthering Heights, if you have not read it, or if you read it in high school and were like, no, this is terrible, give it another shot, because this is, I like, and it's funny, like it's really well written, and it translates to a contemporary time beautifully, I think. Like, I was like laughing at certain points, things that the characters were doing and stuff. So I highly recommend Wuthering Heights for this time of year. This is my November go-to. Another creepy book, although I feel like I've heard people say that this is a summer book. Does this take place in summer? I don't remember, but We Have Always Lived in the Castle. This one is so creepy. Who can you trust? What is going on? I don't know. Oh my god, I love this one. I have not read The Haunting of Hill House yet, and so I definitely intend to read that one. I meant to read it this like Halloween season, but time just got away from me, and so I did not get to all the books that I wanted to. Another one that I love, Ray Bradbury is easily one of my favorite authors, and Something Wicked This Way Comes is so good. For one, the father-son relationship in this, just my heart, oh my god, I love it. And there's nothing like outright gory in this, but some of the ideas and the way that they are written is just like, it's like wrapping you up in this poetic prose that Bradbury does, but then it's like you really stop to like process what's being said, and it's terrifying. I love this book. Now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, well, I gotta reread this one now too. For me, November, I'm not ready for spooky season to be done. I'm not ready for Christmas time to start. So like, let's just keep going with the spooky stuff, you know? I know we all started in like July, but so. And then some of these I've mentioned in previous vlogs, but they are some of my go-tos. So, sorry. Dracula. And this is Dracul, which is, it's a historical fiction that is based around Bram Stoker and Bram Stoker's life before writing Dracula. But these are fantastic. obviously is Dracula. And I know some people have read it and they're like, oh, it didn't really do anything for me, it's really big. But I love it, and it's a comfort to me because it's such a well-known story. He's kind of the OG vampire, but not really, because Carmilla is. Carmilla is also another one that I find so comforting because it is just a classic. This particular one is gonna get you really fired up though, because it has, it's edited by Carmen Maria Machado, and her reflection on like feminism, and what that means for this story is, makes you mad. Makes you mad. And then always my go-to, Frankenstein, my favorite monster. Well, my second favorite monster. Creature from the Black Lagoon is my favorite monster, but he doesn't have a book, like technically. So Frankenstein, making monsters on a stormy night, what's not to love? I reread this every year. I'm a huge fan. I plan to be reading Our Hideous Progeny soon. It's not exactly a retelling, but it's like Dr. Frankenstein's niece and like her journey. So I'm really looking forward to that one. But if you have not experienced the original, like the book includes stuff from the Bride of Frankenstein movie. So if you're familiar with the films, the first film is like garbage, but the second film, The Bride of Frankenstein, so good. Like not exactly true to the book, but much truer than the first movie. And this hits on a lot of my favorite parts of the film. So yeah. Another cozy, spooky classic that I love is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I have not read this one since college, and I feel like it's time for me to sit down with it again. This is such a good book. The first time I read it in one sitting. And like, that's saying a lot for a classic, you know? But it is perfect. It is so good. Well, and now that I'm saying that, like, I hope, like, I haven't read it as many times as I've read Frankenstein, so like now looking back older, like I'm interested to see what my experience is. But the first time I read it, oh my god, I loved it. And then another thing that I love to recommend as far as cozy but creepy reading goes is kind of sticking in like the middle grade spooky area. Coraline, Neil Gaiman. Personally, I think the movie is creepier than the book, but if you prefer a book experience to a movie experience, then this is great. But I do think that it is one that the film I actually ended up enjoying more. It's just so atmospheric. That film is so well done, I feel. On the note of middle grade, small spaces, this is, there are 4 books in this series, and I've actually only read the first one because the second one I think they say is like really wintry. So actually, this would be a great time to start it because it definitely has like Halloween feelings. I think it takes place like at Halloween time, but then the second one, Dead Voices, takes place in like the dead of winter. So like, what a great time to start this, because it feels like you're like right there, right? So I'm gonna read this very soon. So yeah, there you have some probably non-traditional cozy horror recommendations. None of them are super new releases. Most of them are classics, but that's the kind of reader that I am. I love horror and I love science fiction and I love classics. I read a lot of contemporary fiction as well, but classics are just, they just feel like home to me. So yeah, I hope that you have found something in this stack of books that interests you. Maybe you will find that you love classics too, or maybe you'll find an author that just really resonates with you. I hope that for you very much. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got some useful recommendations, and I will see you guys in the next one. Oh, like and subscribe. Bye.